Hello, everyone. I am so glad you came here to visit or to be a part of this live training. I am looking forward to the content we're going to be covering tonight. And for those of you who are going to be watching the replay here, I look forward. I hope that you enjoy this content and you are going to really appreciate some inspirations, some practical things that you can start to think about, start to work on, start to implement in your life so that you can get to that place of financial abundance and blessing that we all want and God wants for us. So one of the things that I want to start out and just say, oops, and make sure this is working here. For those of you who are watching the replay, I apologize. I just want to double check and make sure this is working. All right. So you are welcome. Just want to kind of set some ground rules for those who are here. We want you to be able to jump into the chat anytime. You can jump in. You can ask any questions that you want, and we will make sure to answer those questions for you. All right. So I just want to jump right in, though, and talk about why you're here and why we want to talk about some of this stuff. So one of the first things when we think about finances, I have worked with quite a few clients who are, and when I say quite a few, I'm talking probably about 55 clients or so at this point, one-on-one, working with them through their finances over the last couple of years. And what I have found is that very often people will be making enough money that they feel like they should be doing better, and yet they're running out of money every month and struggling and not knowing why and not able to really get ahead, right? So and a lot of times I find that there's a lack of a number of things. We're lacking motivation, we're lacking clarity, lacking kind of not really knowing what the current situation really is, the reality of the situation. There's a lack of understanding in terms of like the next steps, the baby steps that someone needs to take in order to get their finances under control. There's a lack of focus, and there's a lack of accountability. And so as I'm working with these people, I've kind of developed a framework of that I can use to help people through this whole process of getting their finances into a place where they are feeling like everything is moving in the right direction and they feel confident, they feel connected with their bigger purpose, and they're able to make much better progress in the direction that they want with their finances, or just make decisions that they need to make, or to just get into a better place where they feel like they know where their money is going. And so there's so many different outcomes when it comes to it. But ultimately, I believe that turning your potential into purpose, and we're going to talk about what that means, is the key to financial abundance and blessing. And I'm going to talk about that. We're going to go, this first training is going to be more of an overview of a lot of these concepts. We're going to talk through it. I'm going to give you lots of examples, and I'm going to try to give you some things you can take away and use. But I really want you I'm just going to say it right off the bat here. I want you to join for the next couple trainings, because the second training, we're going to get into the details. I'm going to give you something very specific that you can do to implement what we learned today. And I'm going to show you exactly all the steps to implement that one specific thing in the second training. And then the third training, we're going to really dig into, when I mentioned just now the awareness and clarity, intentionality, focus, and accountability, we're going to really dig into that framework. And I'm going to help you basically to implement that when it comes to, or think about how this applies to your finances and your life. All right. So once again, turning your potential into purpose is the key to financial abundance and blessing. And so what I want to start with, and I apologize, I need to fix my light real quick because it has fallen, and I should have done a better job in making sure it was up there. And we'll see if it stays now. We'll see. We'll see. All right. I apologize for that. So we're going to start with talking about how purpose manifests in your life and finances. So I want to start with kind of the understanding that everything has a purpose. Everything has a purpose. And what do I mean by that? Well, not just people, but items, okay? If I have a chair, it has the purpose of that if I want to sit down, I can sit down on that chair. If I want to, the chair may have another purpose if I decide to push it up against the cabinet so I can reach the next shelf. I am using that for another purpose. It may not be its original purpose, but it has where we have a purpose that it's designed to do. This picture on the wall behind me has a purpose to bring beauty, to bring aesthetics, to bring color, to bring maybe some nostalgia, maybe some remembrance of something. So a lot of people think that I live in San Francisco when they look at that picture. Well, I don't live in San Francisco, but I do live nearby it, within an hour and a half. So I live in Sacramento, Elk Grove, California, near Sacramento. And so that picture has a purpose. The wall has a purpose to protect, to keep us inside. Our clothing has a purpose to protect our bodies and to keep us, and obviously not to make us feel ashamed, and to give us some modesty. And our money has a purpose. So now we're going to bring it to money a little bit. Our money has a purpose. Your money was designed for something, okay? You are using money for something. What I want to do is I want to help you to create a stronger purpose for your money so you know where that money goes and you can direct it very intentionally. And so the money, when we're talking about purpose, how purpose manifests in your life and finances, purpose is what you want. It's that far off dream. It's that I was made to do something specific. This money, I made this money to do something specific with it. I made this money so I could use it to take care of my family, to use it to further God's kingdom ultimately, but to use it for other purposes, to give to others, to help others up, to bring shelter over my head, to give me transportation, to allow me an opportunity to be a part of something, to get experiences. So you have a purpose as well. From the very beginning, God knew who you were going to be and what you were meant to accomplish in the world, right? He knew. And you may know, you may have this idea of what you are designed to be, what you're meant to accomplish in the world. But we want to bring some purpose to that, okay? We want to get very clear on that. And we want to know where you're going with that purpose, what that purpose is, because in order to get better at your finances, in order to fix the finances, we can't just assume everything's that it's just quick fixes. I just need to make a little bit more money. I just need to create, maybe stop spending a little bit less I need to spend a little bit less at the grocery store. I need to stop spending so much out to eat. Those are tactics. But before we get to the tactics, we have to create the strategy. And in order to create the strategy, we have to know where we're going. That's why we need to know what purpose is. We've got to get clear on purpose in order to be able to create that, or to create the pathway to make that purpose come to fruition. So what is the definition of potential? Because remember, I said that turning your potential into purpose is the key to financial abundance and blessing. So what is potential? Well, potential is a state of being like that is not reached its purpose, okay? Until something has reached its purpose, it's in a state of potential. And so what is some examples of that? Well, the chair. So the chair does not, if it is not built yet, it's just, maybe it's just pieces of wood or pieces of plastic, or maybe just a metal blob, or whatever it is. It might be molten metal that's going to be turned into a metal chair. But before it's actually turned into a chair, it has potential to be something. It has potential to be used as a chair, as something that somebody can use to sit and to rest. And so, but it's important that we recognize this chair has not reached its purpose. This chair does not have any purpose while it's in that potential state. And then in addition, when you think about the chair, okay, so we got molten metal, we got molten plastic, or we have wood, or whatever the material that the chair is made out of. We take that material, and there has to be a design to that material. Okay, that material, somebody has to design it, somebody has to create the mold, and somebody has to build the chair, or mold the chair, or create the chair from whatever materials are available. So in order for that chair to come to fruition, potential involves not only the materials, but it also involves the plan. And somebody had to have it in mind, that they knew where they were going, what they wanted to accomplish with those materials, and they had a vision of the future. And so the chair had potential, but until it's brought into the vision of what somebody wants from that chair, it does not have purpose yet. The same thing with that picture behind me. Somebody had to paint it. And before somebody, or actually I think it was probably printed, but somebody had to print it. So, or if you have a painting, somebody had to paint it. Somebody first had to design it, or they had to take a picture. They had to actually create the materials, which is like they had to decide, wow, that's a great view. Let me adjust my camera. Let me get a good picture of that. And then they were able to use that picture to then blow it up and print it and put it on my wall. And now I can enjoy it. And so the picture now has purpose, but when it was still just a landscape, the purpose was different. It wasn't a picture yet. It had potential to be something that could sit on my wall and be a enjoyment to me, but it did not have purpose. So same thing with the wall, the building a house. That wall does not have potential until it's built. Same thing with the shirt. This shirt, until it was actually created, until it was actually woven, until it was actually gone through the factory process, it did not become a shirt. And in order to even go through that whole process, there had to be a design to it. So that's where the potential started. Same thing with your money, okay? Your money has potential. Your money has potential. It can do anything you desire it to do, anything you want it to be. That money could be something that turns into experiences for you and your family. It could be something that turns into retirement. It could be something that turns into the joy of giving. It could be something that turns into food that you eat. But whatever the case may be, that money does not have purpose until you take the potential of what that money can be and you use it for a particular purpose. All right? So hopefully that kind of gives you an understanding. We got potential, purpose. Now, let's dig a little bit more into that. None of us have fully achieved our purpose. Nobody, okay? All of us are moving in the direction of creating purpose in our lives. And so, and all of us are trying to unlock our potential in some way. All of you have dreams, you have desires, you want to do something specific, but you're not there yet. Until you actually reach or leave this earth, you probably have never not received or not entered into the full purpose of what God has for you, of what you were designed to do or what you want to be. Okay? So you have not fully achieved your purpose or unlocked your potential. None of us have. This chair, if it was fully engaged in its purpose, it will be, and I'm saying this chair, there's a chair over here off the screen if you don't know what I'm looking at. It has not achieved its purpose until you've been sitting in it, until it doesn't have any ability to to allow people to sit in it anymore until it breaks. Basically, it's not fully achieved its purpose of being a chair that for as long as possible. So your money is in a state of potential, as we already said. But we know that that money has not fully achieved its potential because, and this is where we're going to start to talk a little bit about abundance and how money grows and how money becomes something bigger, something greater. And so just to kind of wrap up potential and purpose, though, we want to go from potential to purpose in your life and with your finances. And that is how you're going to reignite your financial future and live in the abundance and blessing that God desires for you. So if you believe that, or if any of this resonates with you, or you're kind of interested, you want to know more, go ahead and type something in the chat. Love to see it. So, and just double check. Okay. So, and I can't, let me see if I can actually move things around just a little bit so I can see the chat a little bit easier. All right, let's try this. Okay, that's a little better. All right. So what does it mean to live in abundance and blessing? Because remember, I said that turning your potential and purpose is the key to financial abundance and blessing. So what does it mean to live in abundance and blessing? Well, let's first define the terms. So abundance. What is abundance? I don't have to hold on to things for dear life. I believe that there is plenty in the world to go around. Let's start with that definition. I believe that there is plenty in the world to go around. The definition of abundance is more than enough. Okay? Abundance is overflow. Abundance means that money is created. Money is that there's more than enough to go around. That as we create, when you think about the macro economy, as we begin to trade with each other and create, that money is created over time, and then there is not a fixed, like it's not fixed. And that's important to kind of understand to start, because it is true. I will say that it's true, but it's also not just in finances or in your money. It's also in your mindset. What is a mindset of abundance? A mindset of abundance is the same thing. I believe that there's plenty in the world to go around. I believe that I have unlimited potential to do great things. I believe that I am not stuck or fixed in a particular place. Wherever I'm at right now is not where I'm going to be, where I'm going to stay, where I have to stay, but I can do more. And many of you have probably already done more. You've probably gotten more education. You've probably added to your lives. You've changed jobs. You've probably tried new things. And so you already, to some degree, have already stepped into more of your purpose. You've used some of your potential and to become more, right? You've maybe gotten more education. And so abundance is that mindset of believing that you can keep doing that there's always more ahead of you. Money can grow. I don't have to, and this actually comes back to a biblical thing. If you think about the steward, and if you're not a Christian or don't understand the Bible, no, obviously you've already figured out that I do come from a more biblical or Christian perspective here. But if you happen to know the Bible story of the steward, the talents, then you would recognize that the steward who was not, or who was the money was taken from him, was the steward that buried his talents. It was the steward that did not believe that money could do anything for him, or did not want to risk losing that money. And so he believed that in order, he was going to have to bury it and protect it. And I can't do anything. I can't do anything with it because I might lose it. And so he was not willing to open his hands and put it in the hands of the money changers or the bank or the investor or the investors, so that he could get a return back. Now, I'm not giving investment advice right now. So don't think that I'm saying you need to go take all your money out of savings and go give it to and go put it in an investment. Don't do that. Okay. But there's a lot more to this. But we do we want to at least start with a mindset and understand that money can grow. I don't have to bury it to protect it. All right? That's a really big piece. Another thing, another part of this abundance mindset is I can pivot when things aren't going as expected. I can turn things around when things don't go the way that I expect. If something goes wrong, if I have a few things have gone wrong for me in the last few months. Think of one, the dishwasher. Okay, $600 spent on the dishwasher, and then I find that another part had gone out, and I was about to possibly spend another 185, and I was fixing it myself. Well, thankfully, it turned out to just be a faulty, a loose connection. So I took it apart and fixed it, and it cost me nothing, thankfully, except for the time. But I can think of some other things. So we have unexpected things that happen in our lives, right? Things go wrong. It's always going to go wrong. And on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. But your ability to pivot is you first believing that you can pivot, that you can manage, that you can get through any situation, that you can figure it out when you come to something that's difficult. And so you've got to have that abundance mindset that money can grow, you can pivot, you can move, you can make changes in your life when you need to do so. You don't have, and here's another piece. So those are a couple really important ones. But let's get something else. Let's think about of the stress and frustration that often comes with money. I feel stressed and frustrated because I'm running out of money every month. As I mentioned in the beginning, that's a common problem, right? Why that stress and the frustration is because you're not making it. And I'm sorry, I just heard something at my door. Hold on just a second. All right, so that stress. So we want to make sure. I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Okay. I don't have to feel stressed and frustrated because I'm running out of money every month. I don't. And why? Because when you're living in abundance, you believe that there's more you can do. You believe that you have some control. That's a really big piece of this. You've got to learn to take the actions that you need to take to gain some control of your situation. And so we want to create that abundance and blessing in your life. And part of the abundance mindset is creating control in your life, creating some semblance that I can do something about this. I don't have to worry and fear about not being able to retire in 10 years. I don't have to worry about running out of money in 5 or 10 years. I don't have to worry about things going completely awry, and I find that I am now homeless. I'm going to lose my house. I can't do anything about my situation. I want to get you to a place where you can do something about your situation and you can get some control of it. But I will say lots of people will run that hamster wheel and will try and fall and try and fall. And we all have done that at some point in our lives. I remember, for example, when you think about money, when I was over $200,000 in debt. And I remember looking at my credit card debt at the beginning of our marriage, I think it was, or I don't remember exactly, but I remember a year or two later, like next year and the year after that, I remember looking at the credit card debt and seeing the same numbers. That I thought that I had been paying down on the credit card debt. I thought I was taking actions, and I remember taking actions to pay it down, but then I didn't realize that in the process I was still using the credit card, and so it was kind of going back and forth, and I made no progress. I had a try and I fell, try and fail, and it just ended up basically where I ended up not making any progress. And so that was frustrating, that was stressful. And so I had to learn how to get out of that. I had to learn to develop the right habits and develop the right framework, honestly. I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about, and we're going to go into the other trainings more. But I had to learn how to get from that place of potential in my life and in my finances to a place of purpose, where everything that I was doing had a purpose and I had some control. And I feel And I had to get to a place, I wanted to get to a place where I felt abundant in my mindset and abundant with my money, abundant in the ability to to have control, to pivot, to grow my money, to do something with it. And then this last piece is going to be important to recognize. Money is not about the abundance is not about necessarily the financial outcomes. It's not about having a lot of money. It's in the knowledge that you have the control of the situation. Okay? Yes, there's something to be said for having money. The more money you have, there's a certain level of having enough money that makes you that does bring happiness. I don't remember the numbers exactly. I think it's around 75,000. Once you get over 75,000 for a single person or less, I don't, maybe that's American. I don't remember the numbers exactly. You're gonna have to go look them up. But basically, once you get past a certain threshold, the money that you have does not bring any more happiness. So you have to learn. So yes, some of you are below that threshold of whatever the threshold is, and you're obviously you're not happy because you're not making enough money. But that's the average. That means that it is possible. And I know people that they are perfectly content and they're doing really well in the money that they're making, much less, because they've learned that the contentment and the abundance can come not necessarily connected to the financial outcomes, but in the knowledge that you have control of the situation and you can do something with the money that you have already. All right. Now, this whole idea of abundance is as opposed to scarcity. The opposite of this would be a mindset of scarcity. Money can't grow. There's a fixed amount of it. I can't pivot. I'm kind of stuck in my situation. I'm too old. There's too many factors against me. Too much inflation has killed me and I can't do anything about it. I feel stressed and frustrated and I'm just going to feel like this the rest of my life. I'm never going to be able to retire. Have you said any of those things? If you've said any of those things, you may be in a little bit of a scarcity mindset. And I don't blame you. I think I have that too. In fact, there's still areas of my life that I do recognize that. I think all of us do at some point. And so how do we get out of that? And that's where I'm saying that in order to get to this place of abundance, you've got to turn your potential into purpose. It's the key to financial abundance and blessing. All right, so the last thing, let's define and talk a little bit about blessing, and then we're going to go into how to close the gap. So first, when we talk about blessing, I give out of blessing, okay? I'm sorry, I skipped. Before I talk about giving out of blessing, we need to talk about what blessing is. Everything I have is ultimately for use in God's kingdom. Everything I have is ultimately for use in God's kingdom. That's the idea of blessing. That when we are blessed in order to be a blessing. That is a key, that we recognize that in order to bring more abundance into our lives and more blessing into our lives, that we have to be a blessing to others. Okay? Now, here's where it becomes a struggle. A lot of times people will then think, oh, that means I need to, when I feel to give $5,000, I need to go give that $5,000 even if I don't have it. If you're giving money that you don't have, then you're not living in blessing, or you're not giving out of blessing. And so in a way, you are giving away money that's not yours. If you don't have $5,000 and you give $5,000. So you're giving away money that's not yours. That's giving out of scarcity. And so that comes back to that whole understanding of abundance versus scarcity. We don't want to live in that scarcity mindset. We've got to recognize that money can grow and I don't have to bury it to protect it. I can pivot. I don't have to feel stressed and frustrated about it. I can be content with the money that I have. And when we look at blessing, I can give out of my blessing and I can know how much I need to get. I can give out of that blessing and I don't have to give blindly. I don't have to give just because I feel like it. I need to make sure that I'm being a wise steward as well. So the balance of blessing and stewardship. But we want to give out of that blessing. I've created another component of blessing is that I have created margin in my life so that I can continue to give more. I've created margin in my life so that I can continue to give more. What does creating margin in your life look like? Well, that is where you have given purpose to your money. You have created purpose. You've taken the potential of that money and you have, and this is coming back to the beginning of our conversation for anybody who may have joined recently. But we talked about a lot about purpose, potential to purpose, and what that is. So you might want to go back and watch that. But I have created margin in my life so that I can continue to give more. That is another big component of blessing, where I have given purpose to my money, and so that I am in control and I know where the money's going and I'm clear on where I want that money to go. And that is creating the margin that I can then decide I am going to give this much more because I can, because God has blessed me. I am giving out of blessing, and that brings additional blessing when you understand that principle. And so the last thing is having an open hand to give allows you to receive. This is the law of attraction. And this is where if I open my hand and I say, here, God, take what I have. Or if I go give it to somebody else, if I go network and I start to give in different places of my talents, of my time, of my resources, then my hands are open and I'm ready to receive back whatever is there for me. You can't do that if your hands are closed. If you're not giving, your hands are closed, you're not going to get the blessing. That's why being blessed to be a blessing is so important. That's why giving is so important. All right, so we talked a lot about purpose, potential. Turning your potential into purpose is the key to financial abundance and blessing. And now let's talk about the gap there. Why is it so hard to do that? Potential to purpose. It's really hard to actually make that happen. So it requires first, we need to close the gap between where we are and where our money is, potential, and where we and our money want to be, purpose. This requires first a shift in our mindset and a shift in the way we manage our money. A shift in our mindset and a shift in the way that we manage our money. We're going to dig a little bit further into that in the last training. We're already at 32 minutes here. And so I'm going to want to really dig further. I want to give more time to this. So I'm going to want to dig further than this in the last training. But we want to, in order to go from potential to purpose, it requires us to develop more awareness of who we are and the reality of our current situation. It requires us to develop clarity on who we want to be, what we desire, our why, and the steps to get there. And it requires developing intentionality into taking action towards our purpose and goals. And then it requires focus in determining our priorities based on our current season, where we are right now in the season of life that we're in, and determining our current season and our situation. So current season of life in terms of like the big circumstances that we're in. A season of life could be a long time. Situation can also be about like how much money you have right now in your bank account. That's part of your current situation. So it can be much more short term. We need to know both of those. We need to determine our priorities based on those. And then we need to develop accountability to stay on track and maintain consistency in the journey. Accountability is key. If you do not have accountability, then you are likely to fall off the wagon. You are likely to forget. You are probably going to succumb to your old habits, your old ways. You might get things going for a little bit and then you fall off and you mess up. I know that. Me and my wife did not start making some significant progress until we started working together, until we actually started making progress as a couple. It made a huge difference in our lives. We were able to hold each other accountable. All right. This is possible. I just want to finish up a few things, just a couple things here, and then I want to open it for any questions or answers in the chat. And by the way, if you're not sure how to get to the chat, you can, if you're on the confirmation page, you may see the chat there on the side. If you don't see the chat, then you probably would need to refresh your page to see it. But if you can also just click on the YouTube button, and you can go straight to YouTube where you can chat there. So if you go to the YouTube, you can actually type any questions that you have into the YouTube chat. I would love to try to answer those live for you right now. You can't jump in live, sorry, but you can ask your question in the chat, and I can see the chat so I can answer those questions as you need, as you desire. All right? So this is possible. I want to kind of say this last one more thing here, though. This is possible for everyone. It's possible for you. I told you that I've worked with quite a few clients here over the last couple of years, and I've seen people go from nothing in their bank account and massive debt and frustration and stress and not wanting to bury their head in the sand, not wanting to look at their money, not believing that there's any possible great future for them. And then they have moved to a place of abundance and blessing, contentment in their lives, believing, knowing that they're moving in the right direction, that things are going the way that they desire. So they're actually seeing that abundance and blessing that I'm talking about in their lives because they turned their potential of themselves and their money into purpose, of themselves and their money. All right, so that is possible. I'm just saying that because I want to let you know that's everything I've talked about tonight is possible for you. And so at our next training, I'm going to get super practical. We're going to go into depth on one way to take the potential of the money you have now and give it purpose. Every dollar has potential. It needs purpose in order to support you in your own potential to purpose journey. So you're going to work on yourself, right? That potential to purpose idea of you're going to take everything that God designed you to be and try to accomplish and do more and step into that. And that's part of what we'll talk about. I mean, that's part of what you can get a coach or help with, but ultimately you can work on that. We're all working on that, right? But we want to be able to take the potential of your money and give it purpose. We want to give every dollar potential. We want it to support us in that journey. Okay. So next training, it's on Tuesday at 5 p.m. PST. So whatever time you're in right now, this is the same time, but it's on Tuesday next week. I will send, of course, reminder emails. So I'm sure that you will be able to, you'll get the links and you can jump in. If you missed any of today's presentation, you want to go back and watch it, the replay will be on the page. And right here, you're already there. So it's going to, as soon as we're done with this, it's just going to show up. It's going to be right there ready for you to watch anytime you need to. All right. So next training, give it purpose. Every dollar has potential. So we're going to work on 3 steps to the process of giving your money potential. And we're going to break them all down for you at the next training on Tuesday. Questions or answers, anything we've talked about tonight, anything that's not even related and you want to ask the question, I may or may not be able to answer it, but we'll do our best. So type it in the chat. Do we have any comments, any thoughts, any questions about what we talked about tonight? And while you're typing the questions there, I want to say I'm so grateful for you guys joining me tonight. This is the first time that I've done a live training in this manner, in this way. And I've done a webinar, a budgeting webinar before, And by the way, the next training, that's part of what we're doing is that budgeting piece, right? That the one thing you can do is I'm showing you the 3 steps of how to actually to be very practical with your money. But let me say thank you so much. So if you have no questions, I don't see any questions coming in the chat. That's perfectly fine. Then I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go on to your evenings and enjoy your time. And we're going to hopefully see you on Tuesday next week for our next live training where we're going to go deep into the budget. We're going to look at the 3 steps. We're going to try to give your money purpose, potential to purpose in your money. We're going to get very specific and give you something that you can take away and very tangibly and feel like you have a win. All right? Okay, we'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your evening.